Right now at 5, Laura Kelly and the governor of New Mexico visit Pittsburgh State University.
And the heat is building across the area. We'll have a complete look at the forecast.
And the 12th annual Digiha Language Conference wraps up at Downstream Casino.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
And I'm meteorologist Sam Lane, standing in for the vacationing Chris Warner.
And as everyone can tell, you have lost your voice.
Yeah, it's irritating. You know, I don't feel bad. It's just I sound bad. So
I've been there.
Hopefully it'll be better as we go through the morning. So just bear with me as I'm doing the best I can. We are going to see lots of hot weather. The heat is going to be on for across the entire area. Right now, radar is all clear. We're not expecting any precipitation. Any thunderstorms that do develop will be very isolated in nature this afternoon. We're going to see lots of sunshine, so as a result, the UV index is going to be way high, very high today, about 10 to 15 minutes of burn time. Make sure you have the hat, sunglasses, sunscreen. Find the shade and limit your time outside. Your forecast looks like this: mostly sunny with a high of 100, around 95 at lunchtime, 99 at 2, 98 at 4 o'clock. And the winds are going to be a little bit lighter today than they were yesterday, but generally around 20 miles per hour. And then tomorrow, even lighter, generally upper teens to mid 20s as we go into the afternoon hours. Looking down the lane, the heat dome continues to build, increasing humidity, low rain chances, and then maybe a little bit cooler next week as we get into a little bit of a different pattern. And of course, I'll have all the details in your forecast coming up in just a little bit. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Sam. Well, Joplin takes a step closer to restructuring its public transportation thanks to a grant. The Federal Transit Administration awarded the city of Joplin $400,000. City officials plan to use the money to restructure the public transportation system and possibly expand it.
We've been really struggling with the trolley system to maintain and keep that going to meet the needs, and we're relying more heavily now on by schedule call-in service, which is helpful. It's something at this point, but we really need a more comprehensive and dynamic programs.
I don't drive, I never have, so I have to rely on the public transportation, or whenever my daughter and son can take me to the doctor or whatever I need.
The Federal Transit Administration also gave a grant to Cherokee Nation. KOAM reached out for comment, but has not received a response. City of Joplin on Wednesday announced that its 32nd Street widening project is progressing steadily. Starting Monday, a portion of West 32nd Street will be closed, specifically from Iron Gates and Arbor Road to the west side of Westbury neighborhood entrance. The city expects the project to be completed by late fall, barring weather delays. Funding came from the Capital Improvement Sales Tax, which voters approved in 2014. You can learn more about the progress on our website and the KOAM News Now app.
As the Kansas governor and I like to talk about, there's a race to the top, and states ought to be sharing their best practices and leaning on each other to make sure that the quality of life issues we're working to address can be addressed everywhere.
A couple of governors were in Pittsburgh on Wednesday. One was Kansas Governor Laura Kelly. The other was New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Chisholm. The governors are in town to learn how New Mexico can improve its higher education institutions. They visited Pitt State's Center for Reading, which stands for Research, Evaluation, and Awareness of Dyslexia, to see how it helps people with the condition. Organizers expect Marion Days this year to draw pre-pandemic attendance numbers. They say the event that kicks off in Carthage next week could bring in 70,000 people. Now celebrated since the late 70s, the festival honors the Vietnamese American Roman Catholic faith. Visitors come from all over the country and traditionally choose to camp outside. The event has programs in English and in Vietnamese, so everyone can participate. The festival, held in recognition of the Virgin Mary and to honor Vietnamese martyrs, will start on Thursday next week. For more information, you can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. We'll have more on the impact Marian Days has on businesses later in the show. The 12th annual Deg Ihak Language Conference wrapped up on Wednesday. The event brought members of the Ka, Omaha, Osage, Ponca, and Quapaw tribes together to celebrate their history and talk about the importance of keeping their native Deg Ihak language alive. The conference featured speakers from each tribe who talked about their culture and experiences.
Our language is endangered, and some of the tribes don't have any fluent speakers anymore. And so we've come together because we were one before and try to revitalize our language. And some of the tribes have different levels of language programs, and some have no language programs and no speakers.
Preservation Society's main goal is to pass down the culture to the youth to keep their traditions alive. The Ozark Empire Fair in Missouri starts today, and visitors to one of the largest annual events in the area will notice changes. Joe Hickman reports on the progress on Springfield's north side.
The Ozark Empire Fair will still have its familiar sights you'd expect this year, but the longtime home of the fair's agricultural-related events is no more, as the old arena is being replaced by a new $29 million facility that's about 70% completed, expected to be done in September.
So that arena is 4 times the size of the prior arena. The current footprint for the seating is approaching 6,700. And so it can accommodate events, including large trade shows, which bring a huge economic impact.
We're finalizing BMX. We'll have a national event in here. We got statewide wrestling tournaments. The arena's big enough to do monster trucks and bigger motorsport stuff. So instead of us being more of a regional, try to go after 1,500, 2,000 seats, we're set up to go after that 6,500 seats on more of a national level.
The arena is just part of the fairground's 30-year master plan, and with its multi-purpose setup, the new arena is already sparking more interest.
By the end of this year, we'll have well over 100 events for 2024 already booked. And there's other events we're actually discussing right now that I really can't disclose to you, but they're in negotiation, that are large events that don't currently come to Springfield, Missouri.
The master plan also has other upgrades, including a new barn currently under construction, and eventually adding 400 new campsites to the current 120. Badly needed because
we have livestock shows, rodeos, and other events where the majority prefer to stay on the grounds with their cattle and horses.
It's all part of a new era for the fairgrounds, as the facility strives to be more relevant outside of just the fair and become more of an economic driver.
I've been on the board coming up 15 years, and there was a point in those early years that the fairgrounds was in a horrible shape financially, and that has been corrected now for a number of years.
This is the 87th fair. The theme this year is Summer's Biggest Party. Looks like it. It's at 3001 North Grant Avenue in Springfield. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we'll meet MSSU's newest basketball commit with Sam in sports. Plus, how dance classes are helping those with Parkinson's disease. And Sam has another look at your hot summer forecast for the week. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back.
Destruction, July 28th and 29th in Lamar.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. The votes are in, and the MIAA preseason football polls are official. Not with too many surprises with where the teams are placed, with Pittsburgh State right at the top and Missouri Southern down near the bottom. Starting first with the media poll, the Gorillas sit at the top spot. Missouri Southern is in 8th place. Pitt State received 22 of the 28 first place votes, with Northwest Missouri getting 7 of those and Emporia State getting 1. Those two lost to the Gorillas by a combined 3 points from last season. things are pretty similar in the coaches poll. Pittsburgh State gets 8 of the 11 first place votes in that one, with Northwest Missouri receiving 3, but Missouri Southern drops down to the 10th spot, and coming off a 4-7 season last year, Lions head coach Atiba Bradley feels that his group is headed in the right direction.
We established ourselves in the ability to compete in this league, and I think it's been a long time since Missouri Southern's been able to do that. And so excited from that standpoint, but 2022 had a lot of close losses, and I'm excited to see if we've made the jump that we need to so that those close losses turn into close wins and we can flip this thing around.
Pittsburgh State football radio broadcast will be much more accessible across the 4-state area. The Guerrilla Sports Network announced its radio coverage is expanding to now include 40 different counties throughout Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. 10 different FM and AM affiliates will carry the games on top of the terrestrial radio coverage of all Guerrilla football games. Fans can also listen on ESPN 100.7's live stream online. Missouri Southern's women's basketball has a new commit, and she spent the first 3 years of her high school career lighting up teams from across the 4 states. Grace Frazier announced her commitment to the Lions on Twitter. She's entering her senior year at Diamond High School in Missouri, and as a junior this past season, eclipsed 100 career points, helped the Wildcats to a 22-6 season that ended with a career-high scoring outburst of 40 points in a Class 3 sectional playoff game. Still to come, Germany gets some summer snow, which delights tourists and shocks them at the same time. Plus, a check of our 7-day forecast, which doesn't include any snow when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Clipper from H&K Camper in beautiful Columbus, Kansas.
And welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. It's a beautiful morning so far, including Seneca, Missouri with the Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Looking pretty nice as we start to head towards sunrise. Yesterday we made it up to 98 after a low of 79. Pretty close to the records of 105 and not anywhere close to that record of 54 though. We are way behind on the month for rainfall as well as for the year. And of course we were above normal on the temperatures. Right now we have a heat advisory in effect for southeastern Kansas and southwestern Missouri for this afternoon. Also excessive heat warning has been issued for some counties up in northeastern Kansas. And as we look at temperatures this morning, they're not too bad. Generally in the 70s, 75 in Parsons, Iola, same thing, 79 in Nevada and Stockton, as well as Joplin, 78 in Grove on south winds. Now when you factor in the dew point later today, we're going to be seeing temperatures feeling like just above 100 degrees, 105 in Pittsburgh, 106 in Fort Scott, 104 in Yates Center and in Iola, 108 down in Welch and Vania for some of the hotter spots. And then tomorrow, again, a repeat of today. Temperatures feeling like well over 100 degrees, 107 in Nowata, 105 in Fort Scott, 107 in Nevada and Stockton for some of the hottest spots. As a result, heat advisory are going to be in effect for southwestern Missouri, southeast Kansas, northeast Oklahoma again today, except for northwest Arkansas. They're going to escape it just by a little bit. All right, let's take a look at the rainfall chances. They're going to be extremely low, below 20% for the next 36 hours. Any storms that develop are going to be very isolated and primarily to the north. And when they do occur, maybe a tenth or two of rainfall, but that's about it. Most areas are going to remain high and dry as we see this ridge of high pressure building off towards our west. That's going to be building over the next several days across our area, and that's going to increase the temperatures and decrease the rain chances. But then as we go towards the weekend, we go into a more amplified pattern, and the high comes right over on top of us. So we start to see the temperatures really start to increase as we go into Monday. Today, we're going to see highs in the upper 90s to around 100. And then as we go into tonight, lows in the 70s, isolated showers at best. And then tomorrow, another repeat of today, highs near 100, especially in southeast Kansas. And then as we go into Saturday morning, isolated showers possible with lows in the mid 70s. And then Saturday afternoon, you guessed it, right around 100 degrees across the area once again. And then as we go into Sunday morning, lows in the mid 70s. Over the next 7 days, we're going to see an alert day today and tomorrow, and then Saturday and Sunday, still 100, and then possible alert days on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Look at these highs, 103, 103 on Tuesday and Wednesday, maybe some showers on Thursday with a high of only 99, and then a little bit cooler, if you want to call mid 90s cooler, as we go in towards the latter part of next week and into early part of next weekend. Stay with us, we'll have more news and weather when we come back.
Find out how you can save thousands on your new home at Creekside in Carthage.
Topping Health Watch this morning, around 500,000 Americans are diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, according to the National Institutes of Health. It's a brain disorder that can cause unintended movements like shaking and muscle stiffness. It can also lead to difficulty with balance and coordination. But a U.S. hospital is using a new approach aimed at helping those living with Parkinson's. Mandy Gaither has more on how dance therapy is changing the lives of some patients.
In 2016, Jessica Ford started noticing an involuntary tremor in her right hand. It proceeded for months before she went to the doctor and was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
For a while, I kind of thought that really would end my life or change it so dramatically.
This 76-year-old says it took about a year to adjust her attitude toward the disease and to find a medicine that helped her symptoms, all the while remaining active.
Dance feeds my soul, and I love movement, I love music.
Now she's able to share that love with others living with the same disease.
For me, it was like the minute this thing came across my email, I signed up.
It's called Dancing with Parkinson's, a 5-week program offered by Northwestern Medicine and the Joffrey Ballet in Chicago.
All exercise is good for people with Parkinson's.
Dr. Danny Bega says the dance classes address the disease as a whole, helping not only his patients' bodies, but also their minds.
Learning and trying to remember steps in a dance routine is good for working with memory and improving thinking. We've seen benefits in people describing improvement in anxiety and in fatigue.
My body felt more relaxed. I felt more engaged, and the whole mental attitude was quite elevated.
After being apart from people during the COVID-19 pandemic, Ford says it's also nice to be social again.
I'm still smiling. What does that tell you?
A 5-week series of classes at Northwestern Medicine teaches different dance styles, including ballet, jazz, tap, and modern dance. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And radar is all clear right now, and it's looked like it's going to stay that way, but the heat is going to be coming back, and I'll have the details when we come back.
Right now at 5:30, the Lord's Diner in Pittsburgh serves its 500,000th meal.
And the heat is definitely going to be on for today, and I'll let you know how long the heat is going to stick around.
And the 10 and under All-Stars get out their sponges and soap and wash some cars to earn some cash.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 5:28. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm meteorologist Sam Lane standing in for the vacationing Chris Warner.
Yes, and our little disclaimer this morning. Someone's lost their voice.
Yes. There's what do they say? What is it? A frog in my throat or something?
Yeah, or something. A horse?
It's probably more like a horse. So we're going to try to get through it as we can. So just bear with me this morning. We do have pretty nice weather shaping up if you like the hot weather, and we got lots of that to go around. Right now this morning on radar, it is all clear, but as we go through the afternoon, we're going to see lots of sunshine, and the UV index today is going to be very high, 10 on the scale, up to 12 on this. It goes up as high as 12, and that means about 10 to 15 minutes of burn time. Make sure you have the hat, sunglasses, SPF sunscreen, and make sure you find the shade. And if you can, limit your time outdoors. And also you might want to check on the elderly as they're more susceptible to the heat. And also make sure that your animals outside have plenty of water and don't become dehydrated. All right, let's take a look at the forecast today. A high of 100 degrees, 95 at lunchtime, 99 at 2 o'clock, 98 at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Winds are going to be a little bit lighter today than they were yesterday, generally around 20 to 25 miles per hour. And the same thing as we go into Friday, a little bit windier up towards the north and west, but winds generally around 20 miles per hour. And looking down the lane, the heat dome just continues to build. We're going to also see our increasing in the humidity, low rain chances, maybe a little bit cooler late next week. And of course, I'll have all the details on that in just a little bit. Tanya.
Thanks, Sam. Well, the Lord's Diner in Pittsburgh hands out meals to people in need every day. In fact, they've been handing out so many meals that on Wednesday, they handed out their 500,000th one. It went to a man named Johnny Boots. Officials say the fact that the meals are locally sourced adds to the excitement.
Tonight we have a beef broccoli rice casserole, so it's like a Korean take on Chinese. And we have green beans, they're super good. And fresh tomatoes, locally donated from our local farmers here in town, so that's really cool.
The Lord's Diner is located at 406 North Locust Street in Pittsburgh. Parsons, Kansas celebrated the 33rd anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The celebration took place downtown yesterday. It included guest speakers, free food, and a dunk tank, live music, and various games and activities. The act was signed into law July 26, 1990. It protects the rights of people with disabilities.
Once that became law and we started being, a class that was looked at as just as important as everybody else, like I said earlier, we became the largest voting bloc in the country because people with disabilities are in every other voting bloc. There's not anybody that's exempt from being a person with a disability. So if people have an issue that they can come together on, people with disabilities are the largest voting bloc.
And there was also a free vaccine clinic offering COVID and flu shots. Lebec County, Kansas Fair gets off to a hopping start. The fair featured a rabbit show on Wednesday. This is the 112th year for the fair. Along with the rabbit show, there was also a meat, goat show and sheep show. But it's not all about the livestock shows.
I would tell them to come watch the shows or the rodeos like that because they're really kind of cool. Because the rodeo does change every year and the bronco ridings and stuff like that. They all happen over there in that arena. And then the bucket cast and the pig shows are kind of cool too.
Well, that rodeo she was talking about culminates on Friday with a demolition derby on Saturday. Well, some Frontenac youth baseball players are headed to the World Series, but to get there, they've got to raise some money, and that's just what they did on Wednesday. The Frontenac 10 and under All-Stars held a car wash to cover travel expenses. It's all for an experience the players will not forget.
Went to Garden City and won regionals, so we're the first team in Frontenac history to go to the Cal Ripken World Series.
The community's done a great job with donations, so the boys have come out to show that they're willing to do some work to help raise money for our trip. We'll be leaving next Wednesday.
Well, the team made the World Series by winning the Kansas State Championship and the Regional Championship. Organizers expect Marion Days this year to draw pre-pandemic attendance numbers. They say the event is around 80% ready to kick off next week. KOAM's Fernanda Silva has the story.
Even though this is Tian May's 5th year in the United States, this summer will be her first time participating in the Marion Days.
It's my dream because it's a very famous celebration. Everyone who come here is a miracle. And with me, it's a miracle too. With my family too, it's a miracle for me to come here.
The religious sister and graduate student traveled hours from Connecticut to Carthage to join other Catholic Vietnamese and descendants to celebrate their country's culture and religion.
A big celebration for every Vietnamese who is staying in the U.S. To give thanks to God and Mother Mary for their surviving from fleeing from Vietnam during the time of a war.
Visitors come from all over the country and traditionally choose to camp outside.
About 100 tents like these ones are already up for Marian Days. The organizers are expecting pre-pandemic numbers this year. Almost 70,000 people should come for the event.
With the possibility of triple-digit temperatures, attendees might seek ways to stay cool, just as they have done in previous editions of the event. The local IMCA says they have more day visits during the Marian Days than the rest of the year combined.
We've had that break with COVID, so last year was the first year that it came back. It was a little smaller crowd, but we're expecting a bigger crowd this time. We could see anywhere between in a 5-day period, anywhere between 800 to 2,000 of them easily come through our door.
Selling day passes, IMCA offer attendants not only a fun time at the pool, but also a place to charge their phones, connected to Wi-Fi, and take a shower.
We definitely ramp up our staff, so we'll have additional lifeguards so that we can take on a bigger swimming load in our pools. And then we, of course, will have the AC cranked like no other so that they can come and enjoy the cooler temperatures inside our building.
One of the organizers of Marian Days, Father John Paul, believes the heat is not going to stop the festivities.
People sacrifice, especially the old people, 60, 70, spend the whole week out in this weather, sleep in tents like that. So it's more like a supernatural God's grace gift, because according to human, nobody wants to be in hot weather, but it's because there's something drawing them here. So
in Carthage, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
Well, the festival is held in recognition of the Virgin Mary and to honor Vietnamese martyrs. It will start on Thursday next week. It has programs in both English and in Vietnamese, so everyone can participate. Organizers expect people to be putting up their camping tents this weekend. And for more information, you can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. A House Oversight Subcommittee is on the hunt for answers on whether aliens really do exist or not.
Plus, it may be a year away, but we'll take a sneak peek at how the city of Paris and the country of France are preparing for the Olympics. We'll have the latest.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch in Niger, an attempted coup is underway. That's according to regional leaders responding to reports that the country's president had been seized by his guards. Those reports also say that President Mohamed Bazoum is inside his palace in the capital, Niamey. The Economic Community of West African States and the African Union are condemning the move. The group also called on the coup leaders to immediately free the democratically elected president. A statement on the president's social media channel says he is doing well, but CNN cannot verify that. Niger has had 4 separate coups since gaining independence from France in 1960. Irish singer Sinead O'Connor has died at the age of 56. RTE, Ireland's public broadcaster, confirmed O'Connor's death. No cause of death was immediately available, though. O'Connor's first album came out in 1987, but it was her sophomore album, I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got, that made her a world-famous singer. Her rendition of the Prince song Nothing Compares to You was a massive hit, rocketing to #1 in 1990. Music video featuring O'Connor with close cropped hair and a dark turtleneck made an unforgettable impression on a generation of music lovers. Well, actor Kevin Spacey has been found not guilty on all charges after a 4-week trial in London. Spacey had tears in his eyes as the jury acquitted him on 7 counts of sexual assault and 2 counts of other serious sexual offenses. During the trial, the prosecutor told jurors Spacey was a, quote, a sexual bully. The Oscar-winning actor, who turned 64 on Wednesday, said he was humbled by the jury's decision to clear him on the charges. The allegations covered a period between 2004 and 2013 when he was artistic director at the Old Vic Theatre in London. The remains of 7 fallen South Korean soldiers who fought in the Korean War were brought back home from Hawaii on Wednesday evening. Came a day before South Korea marked the 70th anniversary of the armistice on July 27th, which brought the war to a ceasefire in 1953. 3 of the 7 remains were collected by the U.S. military during the Korean War, and 1 was found by the U.S. a few decades after the war. 2 of the remains were found by the North Koreans, which sent them to the U.S. in 1995 and 2018, and the other one was found by the militaries of the U.S. and North Korea under their joint excavation work done between 1996 and 2005. Cuban leadership commemorates the 70th anniversary of the start of the Cuban Revolution. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel delivered remarks in Santiago about how Cuba cannot wait for the U.S. to lift its sanctions against the country. Instead, Cuba must move forward and solve its own issues. His predecessor, Raul Castro, was also in attendance. July 26 marks the day the Castro brothers, Fidel and Raul, attempted a coup in 1953 at the Moncada military barracks. They failed to oust Cuba's then dictator, Fulgencio Batista, but the attack is widely considered the start of the Cuban Revolution. Fidel Castro did not rise to power until 1959. Well, a surprising sight in Germany, snow during the summer. An unexpected 5 inches of snow fell on Mount Nebelhorn in southern Germany. Temperatures fell below freezing overnight, turning rain into snow at the summit. Tourists visiting the area were shocked by the sudden change in weather. Well, sports fans, listen up. This is your chance to check out all the excitement leading up to the 2024 Summer Olympic Games in Paris. Marianne Rafferty takes a look at the preparations and the early celebrations.
It may be a year away, but excitement in Paris is already brewing ahead of the 2024 Summer Olympic Games. Like during this celebration along the River Seine, where officials were joined by Olympic champion Usain Bolt to show off the iconic Olympic torch.
I think it's going to be one of the best opening ceremonies. I've seen the sights and just imagining those thousands of people lining the river and cheering on is just going to be a beautiful sight.
According to its designer, details on the torch are supposed to resemble the reflection of the Eiffel Tower on the waves of the Seine.
The Olympic Games incites young people to do sports. It's a lot of fun.
But you can't have fun without safety, something organizers say is a top priority ahead of and during the Games.
Avec les forces de l'ordre, with the law enforcement units, with private security companies, with the municipal police, this is an unprecedented setup.
Meanwhile, construction crews are busy building the Olympic Athletes Village. The International Olympic Committee president taking a tour of the facilities that will house more than 10,000 competitors next summer.
I even have had the opportunity to test a bed, and I can assure them that they will sleep very well in these beds. The village as such is extremely well planned. It's very compact.
Well, the opening ceremony will take place next July on the 26th. It will be the first Olympics Paris has hosted since 1924. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back.
All right, we have a beautiful morning shaping up across the area right now, mostly fair and mild, including Seneca, Missouri with Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Yesterday, we made it up to 98 degrees after starting out at 79. Pretty close to the record of 105 set back in that miserable summer of 2011. We're behind on the rainfall, of course, for the month as well as the year, so the drought continues. We have a heat advisory in effect for southwest Missouri and southeastern Kansas counties already in effect. All of the area will be in the advisory later on today. Excessive heat warning up towards the north. Temperatures this morning are already mild, 79 in Joplin, 75 Pittsburgh, and in Iola, 77 in Chanute, 78 in Nowata and in Bonita. And when you factor in the dew point later today, it's going to feel like 105 in Pittsburgh, 106 in Fort Scott, 105 in Nevada and Stockton, maybe a little bit cooler in Aurora with it topping out at 98. But then tomorrow, temperatures are going to be feeling once again above 100 across a large part of the area, 103 in Pittsburgh, 103 in Iola, 107 in Nowata for one of the warmest readings. As a result, heat advisory is in effect for a large chunk of our area, with the exception being Benton County down in northwest Arkansas. Rain chances are going to be pretty close to 0 and very low tomorrow. Maybe an isolated shower or storm here and there, but not really a lot of precipitation. Any rain that does fall will be on the light side, maybe a tenth or two, and that's about it in some of those isolated storms. Instead, we're going to be watching this ridge of high pressure build across our area as we go through the week, into the weekend, and into early next week. And by the time we get into Monday, that ridge of high pressure is going to be sitting right on top of us, and that's when we're going to see temperatures really soar into the low 100s. Today, we're going to top out at about 100 degrees, isolated storms maybe to the south and east, and then as we go into tonight, into tomorrow morning, lows in the mid 70s, and then tomorrow afternoon, a repeat of today, temperatures near 100 degrees across the entire area. Saturday morning, lows in the 70s with isolated showers down to the south possible, and then Saturday afternoon, well over 100 degrees once again in southeast Kansas, and Sunday morning starting off warm with lows in the 70s. How about the next 7 days? Well, alert day today and tomorrow for temperatures above 100. Then on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, well over 100 degrees. Alert possible days on those. And then on Thursday, 20% chance of morning showers, better chance of storms on Saturday afternoon with a high of 96. We'll have more when we come back from the break, so stay with us as the KOAM Morning News continues to roll on.
Reach out. Call and ask to speak to our care team.
Well, the truth is out there, and Congress seems determined to find out just what it is. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill Wednesday heard testimony from former military and intelligence personnel who say UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, are more common than we might think, as lawmakers question if the government knows more about UFOs than they let on. Karen Kafa is in Washington with a look at what we know, what we don't know, and to answer the age-old question, is it aliens?
UFOs are real.
As we convene here, UAP are in our airspace.
And the government needs to take reports of sightings more seriously.
These sightings are not rare or isolated, they are routine.
At least according to testimony from 3 former military and intelligence personnel making their case for more government transparency before a House Oversight Subcommittee Wednesday.
The American people deserve to know what is happening in our skies.
In April, the Pentagon said it was tracking some 650 incidents involving unidentified anomalous phenomena that are currently unexplained, but emphasized there was no evidence of extraterrestrial life or of objects that defy physics.
Well, if there's look at that thing. It's rotating.
But former Navy fighter pilot Ryan Graves and former Navy Commander David Fravor say they have seen UAPs up close and personal, performing unexplainable maneuvers.
We have nothing that can stop in midair and go the other direction.
And believe they may pose a threat to the safety of pilots and the country.
If UAP are foreign drones, it is an urgent national security problem. If it is something else, it is an issue for science. In either case, unidentified objects are concerned for flight safety.
The hearing just the latest effort by Congress to find the truth and what it means for us here on Earth.
Am I certain that all of these sightings are aliens? Of course not. But I do believe unidentified aerial phenomenon around our top secret military bases is a possible threat that we have to take seriously.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
It's all about to come out. This is very exciting, and we will be following it. We'll be right back. Speaking of those UFOs, recordings made to introduce life on Earth to aliens are going up for auction at Sotheby's on Thursday. Well, that would be today. This copy of NASA's Voyager Golden Record was kept by the late astronomer Carl Sagan. The recordings were made for NASA's twin Voyager probes that lifted off in 1977 and continue to explore the solar system today. Now, one of the reels includes Chuck Berry's Johnny Be Good, that's pretty cool, as well as different styles of music from around the world. The other reel has humpback whale songs, greetings in 59 languages, and other sounds. The recordings are expected to fetch up to $600,000 at auction. Now, the records that were sent off with the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 were made of copper and plated in gold and included symbols showing how to locate the sun and how to play the record. I wonder if they'll need a record player. How many aliens keep those in their UFOs? Interesting. Anyway, the San Diego Zoo has welcomed 4 new capybara pups. Oh, these cuties, these cute animals. No, they're not pigs. They're in fact the world's largest rodent. At least they don't have long hairless tails. No. But they are related to guinea pigs, hamsters, and mice. Capybaras are precocial, meaning they are more mature and mobile at birth, which means the 4 babes are already nursing and following mom around. Capybaras are found in Central and South America. They don't look like rodents, and we'll just pretend they're not. There you go. Well, Subway is running a promotion in August, giving sandwich fans a chance to win free sandwiches for life if they agree to change their first name to Subway. According to Bloomberg, once a winner is chosen, the company will pay the winner's legal fees to assume, quote, a new iconic identity. I don't know if Subway box sounds good. I'll have to think about that. Well, Subway has roughly 37,000 franchise-run locations in upwards of 100 countries. The contest starts August 1st. And now we go to Subway Lane.
My name kind of sounds like it would go together with that. And I like Subway sandwiches, so now I'm going to have to enter that contest. We are going to see temperatures well above 100 in many places today. I know there's a lot of green on the map, but don't get excited. We're not going to see a lot of rainfall, just isolated storms at best. Temperatures near 100 degrees. Then as we go into tonight, mostly fair with lows in the 70s. And guess what? The heat's going to stay with us all weekend long with alert days and possible alert days into early next week with readings well over 100 degrees, a little bit cooler late next week. We'll be back after this.
Evergy bucket rides are back, baby.
Right now at 6, how a federal grant will help the city of Joplin restructure its public transportation.
And we have mostly fair skies this morning, but the heat advisory is in effect, and I'll tell you how hot it's going to get in your forecast.
And the city of Joplin gives an update on its progress on the 32nd Street widening project.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach.
And I'm meteorologist Sam Lane, standing in for the vacationing Chris Warner.
Hey, your voice sounds just a tad bit better right now.
It sounds, as the morning progresses, it does sound like it's getting a little bit better, but I've got some peach tea over there that I'm kind of sipping on, so hopefully that'll help out. Right now, we have lots of fair skies across the area, and it's very warm already. We're going to see temperatures rising into the upper 90s to around 100 degrees today, including Indigo Sky Casino and Resort just outside of Seneca, Missouri. This afternoon, we're going to be seeing temperatures much like we had yesterday. 98 was the high yesterday. Normally, it's 91 and 70, and the records are 105 and 54. Boy, that 54 would feel real nice right now. And the rainfall, of course, we're way behind for the month and for the year on the rainfall totals. Heat advisory is in effect for southwestern Missouri, southeastern Kansas. Extreme heat warning is in effect for the northern counties, for Coffee and Anderson counties, issued by the Topeka Weather Office. Temperatures this morning are already pretty warm, mid-70s, upper 70s in some places like Joplin, 76 in Grove, 74 in Neodesha, 78 in Fort Scott and in Nevada. It feels like, or it's going to feel like, well over 100 later today with 105 in Nevada and Stockton, 104 in Baxter Springs and Joplin, 106 in Oswego, and tomorrow, more of the same. We're going to see temperatures feeling well over 100 degrees, and of course, we're going to have that going right on into the entire weekend. So as a result, heat advisories in effect for southwest Missouri, southeast Kansas, and northeastern Oklahoma, with the exception being northwest Arkansas. We'll have more details in the extended forecast in just a little bit. Tanya.
Well, the city of Joplin is a step closer to restructuring its public transportation thanks to a grant. KOAM's Amber Jenkins spoke to officials about their plans for the transportation grant money.
The city of Joplin was awarded $400,000 from the Federal Transit Administration. City officials are planning to use the money to restructure the public transportation system and possibly expand it.
We know that our transit riders and participants are bigger than Joplin. They're more regional in nature. So we hope to reach out to our stakeholders as well and our regional partners to develop a program that meets the needs of the whole area.
Mostly older people, handicapped. They have to go in walkers or scooters or wheelchairs. They got the lift on the trolleys. They just have to just go and get where you need to go, to the doctor or to the store.
Evelyn uses public transportation to go to doctor's appointments or to the senior center or to just get out the house. With better structured public transportation, not only that Evelyn will get out easier, but relieve some stress off her daughter.
And then she comes back and gets me on Tuesday and Friday because she gets off early enough. But Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday I have to use the maps.
The city currently offers a trolley for public transport, but due to high demand and lack of drivers, the trolley system is a work in progress.
We've been really struggling with the trolley system to maintain and keep that going to meet the needs, and we're relying more heavily now on by schedule call-in service, which is helpful. It's something at this point, but we really need a more comprehensive and dynamic programs.
And the map you have to call several days in advance. You can't call up and say, well, I need to go to the doctor today, and they take you. You can't do that.
Joplin officials say this grant money will allow them to plan the public transportation system with longevity in mind. Reporting in Joplin, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Well, the Cherokee Nation also received grant money from the Federal Transit Administration. KOAM reached out for comment, but did not receive a response. City of Joplin on Wednesday announced that its 32nd Street widening project is progressing steadily. Starting Monday, a portion of West 32nd Street will be closed, specifically from Iron Gates and Arbor Road to the west side of the Westbury neighborhood entrance. Now, the city expects the project to be completed by late fall, barring weather delays. The funding came from the Capital Improvement Sales Tax, which voters approved in 2014. Organizers expect Marion Days this year to draw pre-pandemic attendance numbers. They say the event that kicks off in Carthage next week could bring in 70,000 people. Celebrated since the late 70s, the festival honors the Vietnamese American Roman Catholic faith. Now, visitors come from all over the country and traditionally choose to camp outside. The organizers have already set up about 100 tents to accommodate them. The church says 80% of the event's organization is already complete.
It's not just about them bringing money and shopping in our community. It's about making them feel welcome and that they want to come back next year and the year after that, or bring their friends or their family members so that they have a great experience like we do every day in Carthage, Missouri.
I think it's a big change, a big celebration for every Vietnamese who is staying in the U.S. To give thanks to God and Mother Mary for their surviving from fleeing from Vietnam during the time of war.
Well, the event has programs in both English and in Vietnamese, so everyone can participate. The festival is held in recognition of the Virgin Mary and to honor Vietnamese martyrs. It starts on Thursday of next week. To be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, you can download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. Well, it is fair season in Kansas, and KOAM's Caitlin O'Shaughnessy joins us from the Wilson County Fair in Fredonia. Good morning, Caitlin.
Good morning, Tanya. How are you?
Oh.
We're here today at the Wilson County Fair live in Fredonia, Kansas. And today everything starts to kick off for today's showcase. We're going to start at 7:30 a.m. with the swine showcase, followed by sheeps and goats at 8:30, and then at 9:30 we have the cattle. As you'll see behind me, these animals are geared up and ready to go in hopes of winning the grand champion.
All right. Well, I know later this morning we do have an interview that you have planned with a member of the K-State Extension Service. But have you seen any kids out there this morning or participants that are prepping their animal for the shows?
You know what? We haven't. We've been looking for them. The sun is just starting to come up, but right now it's just us and the animals. So hopefully the kids are coming out. I'm sure they'll get them bathed and get them prepped and do all the necessary final steps that they need.
Well, there's a lot of work to do and a lot that goes involved in that. And Caitlin, what animals are you seeing out there in the barn right now?
Right now we're standing next to the baby cows, and they are very cute. They come in multiple colors. We have brown ones, black ones, spotted ones. But, yeah, they're just little guys, you know, so I'm not quite sure of the age exactly. But I'll tell you what, they're cute, Tanya. These are some cute cows.
All right, well, the experts should be arriving soon, and I'm talking about the kids that have been raising those animals for the past year. So we'll be checking in with you, and you'll be checking in with them. All right, thank you so much. Remember, everything starts at 7:30. That's pretty early out there in Fredonia, Kansas. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, for some U.S. administrators, creating war policy is no game.
Using a board game to strategize the next foreign policy move. I'm Skylar Henry with The Tool, helping lawmakers think through U.S. policy towards China.
Plus, why Amon Bundy is ordered to pay $26 million to an Idaho hospital. And our own meteorologist Sam Lane returns with another look at your forecast and when we can expect these sultry summer temps to turn into some cool rain chances. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look from Fredonia, Kansas, where the 2023 Wilson County Fair has officially kicked off. Topping Nation Watch this morning, 12 people are injured after a crane collapse in New York City Wednesday morning. 9 civilians and 3 firefighters were taken to local hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries. The FDNY says a crane on a high-rise building caught fire and partially collapsed. It was carrying a 16-ton load of concrete that crashed to the ground. The building is vacant and under construction. Streets were closed to keep traffic out of the immediate area. Nearby buildings were briefly evacuated, but no structural damage was found to any of the surrounding structures. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell froze during a news conference on Wednesday. Now, McConnell has not explained why he froze up, but an aide claimed the lawmaker was feeling lightheaded. Sources say he has suffered at least 3 falls this year. The first fall supposedly occurred in February while meeting with the Finnish president in Helsinki, Finland. And then in March, McConnell fell at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in Washington, suffering a concussion and broken ribs. Sources say his 3rd fall happened just this month as he was getting off the plane at Reagan National Airport in Washington. Amon Bundy, an anti-government activist, has been ordered to pay $26 million in damages to an Idaho hospital and its employees. Bundy captured national attention 7 years ago when he led an armed occupation of federal land in Oregon. The lawsuit is over Bundy accusing St. Luke's Meridian Medical Center in Boise of malpractice. In the case, a grandson of a friend was taken into protective custody, which led Bundy to protest in front of the hospital. The hospital, its CEO, as well as a doctor and nurse practitioner on staff, accused Bundy of intimidation, harassment, and disinformation. On Wednesday, a jury agreed with them, awarding them $26 million in compensatory and punitive damages. The U.S. and China are in a period of strained relations over several issues, including the future of Taiwan. Beijing News, the independently governed island, as part of its territory, and that has Washington contemplating what a Chinese invasion of Taiwan might look like. Think tanks are playing out different scenarios and U.S. responses. Skylar Henry got a firsthand look at the war games shaping policy and what's being done to prevent a conflict.
As Biden administration officials look to ease tensions with their Chinese counterparts, think tanks are mapping out how those tensions could escalate if mainland China invaded Taiwan.
This is our game board, which has multiple components. The main part was a theater map that shows sort of East Asia or the Western Pacific.
Stacey Pettyjohn is with the Center for New American Security, a think tank working alongside the Pentagon and Congress as they weigh crucial decisions on budgets and military strategy.
China really is an economic competitor and has that latent power to challenge the United States in all aspects.
To illustrate those challenges, the center created this board game. It has a rule book, counters and markers representing aircraft and battleships, even graphs showing the impact of economic sanctions. Illinois Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy played the game in real time.
Was there any aspect of it that was eye-opening for you?
Oh, sure. I think that one is we should never, ever have that conflict actually materialize. That would be a bad day for the world.
He and fellow lawmakers maneuvered through potential scenarios, including Chinese warships targeting Taiwanese chip manufacturers and attacks over disputed territories in the South China Sea.
We need to see the CCP engage in less dangerous behavior, aggressive behavior, militaristic behavior that could spark a conflict someday.
There's no easy solution, but there are lots of things that we can do, like build more of the right missiles, improve the resiliency of our bases and our posture, that actually dramatically will improve the situation.
Pettyjohn worries U.S. strategy is behind when it comes to China, but says games like this are a move in the right direction. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
The House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party is also exploring the impact of artificial intelligence and business interest on the China-Taiwan relationship. Administration officials say they continue to look for ways to de-escalate tensions and create open lines of communications with China. That's a look at some of today's top national stories. Here's Sam, or should I say Subway, with a look at your forecast.
That's right, Tanya. It's a beautiful morning out there with lots of clear skies, just a few altocumulus clouds. Radar is all clear right now, and it's going to stay that way for the most part. As we go through the afternoon, we're going to see the UV index climb on the scale up to about 10, on the scale up to 12. So that means very high burn time, about 10 to 15 minutes. So make sure you take the precautions out there with the hat, sunglasses, sunscreen, find the shade if you can, and also limit your time outdoors. And also be sure to check on the elderly, as well as making sure that the animals outside stay hydrated as well. Your forecast today, partly cloudy skies with a high of 100 degrees, 95 at lunch, 99 at 2, 99 or 98 at 4 p.m. We'll have more details on your forecast as well as more news when we come back.
Well, this is home.
Well, it's certainly feeling like summer out there over the last few days, and including this morning, mostly fair conditions in Seneca, Missouri at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Just a few clouds out there, but that is about it. We're going to see lots of sunshine today. As a result, we're going to also heat up, and so we are in a heat advisory for southeastern Kansas and southwestern Missouri. Excessive heat warning for our friends up towards the north, up and around the Topeka area. Temperatures right now this morning are generally in the mid-70s, 74 in Iola as well as Parsons, 78 in Nevada for one of the warmest readings, 75 in Chautauqua, and 75 also for our friends down in Bentonville. All right, later today, when you take the temperature and add the dew point to it, it's going to feel like 105 in Pittsburgh, Nevada, and in Stockton, 104 in Lamar, 107 down in Anderson. So it's going to be a real toasty day. And then tomorrow, more of the same. Temperatures feeling light, well over 100 degrees. As a result, heat advisory is in effect for a large chunk of our area, with the exception of northwest Arkansas. Rain chances are going to be on the low side for the next 36 hours. Any rain that does occur will be light and very widely scattered and isolated in nature, maybe a tenth or two, but don't get too excited about the rain. We are going to be dealing with a ridge of high pressure building in for the next several days, and that means the heat is only going to increase as we go through the weekend into the early part of next week. As this ridge builds right over on top of us, we're going to see temperatures well over 100 degrees, including today. And if we take a look at the next 7 days, we're going to see 100 degrees today, tomorrow, right on through the weekend and into the early part of next week. And then as we head towards the latter part of next week, maybe a little bit cooler with a little bit of chance of showers coming into our forecast. We'll have Health Watch and more news and weather when we return.
Partnering with people to live healthier lives.
Topping Health Watch this morning, low-dose aspirin may not be as helpful in preventing strokes as previously thought. A study published in JAMA Network Open found older people who took aspirin daily did not see a lower stroke risk. The study also found daily aspirin use actually increased the risk of intracranial bleeding. The authors say low-dose aspirin should not be prescribed to healthy adults for stroke prevention. Well, testing a person's ability to smell could one day help predict whether they are at risk for Alzheimer's. A study published in Neurology found people with the genetic markers for Alzheimer's tend to lose their ability to detect odors sooner than others. That could be an early sign of future memory and cognitive problems. Pregnant women who do not eat enough fiber could inadvertently delay their child's cognitive development. A study in Japan found the children of mothers who ate low amounts of fiber were more likely to have delays in developing communication, problem solving, and social skills. Researchers even found delays in movement and coordination. Findings underscore the importance of nutrition during pregnancy. Well, as temperatures soar across the country this week, people will want to stay hydrated. But how much water should a person drink each day, especially in these conditions? Jeff Wagner got some answers straight from a doctor.
It's warm out, ladies. Do you need any water? Bottled water? Relief? Free, I promise. In a bottle. You might not think you need water, but you need water right now. What water lacks in excitement, too hot to not stay hydrated, so hot, is made up through necessity.
I wasn't really thirsty, but this is one of those days that even if you don't feel thirsty, it's really good to hydrate. So I'm glad you gave it to me.
How much water should we be drinking every day?
8 glasses.
8 glasses a day, right?
Some scientists recommend much more, nearly 4 liters for men per day and nearly 3 liters for women. But the actual number is fluid.
There's not even an exact amount, although a good place to start is that old myth of 8 cups a day.
Dr. David Hilden works in internal medicine at Hennepin Healthcare. He said people who aren't very active are fine to drink under 8 cups. But if you're laying down pavement on a day in the 90s leading to excessive sweating,
you need to dramatically increase whatever it is that you're drinking.
It affects our health in lots of ways if we're short.
Maybe you're an older adult, maybe you're pregnant, maybe you're ill. Those folks do need probably more than 8 cups a day.
Are there other ways for us to get water besides just drinking water?
I think through fruits and vegetables.
20% of your water comes from food.
And that counts toward your daily intake, as does the water from other drinks.
You can get water through tea, through beer, through coffee.
Coffee just probably wouldn't be best right now because of the temperature too.
Pretty bad.
Could I be hydrated by just jumping into a pool?
Now, you can't get hydrated from just getting wet. It does have other advantages.
Swimming can cool your body down, which in turn makes you sweat less and slow down dehydration.
I sweat a lot just normally.
It could be a Minnesota day in January. You're going to lose nearly a gallon of water through what we call insensible losses, perspiration and breathing.
That's on top of the fluids we lose going to the bathroom, which, by the way, is a good way to monitor your hydration.
Light yellow urine, you're good. Anything darker than light yellow, you need to dramatically increase your fluid intake.
Water? Free water? It's hot out, man. You're welcome. Have a nice day.
All right. Well, Dr. Hilden says the most important thing to remember is to simply drink water when you are thirsty. While drinks like beer and soda do contain water, they should not be your main source of hydration. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We have a hot forecast for you with highs near 100 all the way through to next Wednesday. Showers at the end part of next week. Of course, we'll have complete details on your forecast when we come back.
Post Casino.
Right now at 6:30, why the governors of Kansas and New Mexico visited Pitt State on Wednesday.
And we have lots of heat building up in our area and in our forecast. I'll tell you how hot it's going to be when we come back.
And 5 native tribes get together at Downstream Casino for the preservation of their culture.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach.
And I'm meteorologist Sam Lean, filling in for the vacationing Chris Warner. And no, don't adjust your television set. It really is my voice this morning.
It's a little bit better than it was earlier.
A little.
That's just because you're yelling at us right now,
yes,
just to get a little loud.
Trying to screen the weather forecast. We're going to have a hot day. Thank goodness there's not a whole lot going on, but it's just going to be hot, hot, hot. Right now, radar is all clear. It's going to pretty much stay that way all today. Maybe an isolated shower or storm possible, mainly down to the south, but very few and far between. We're going to have lots of sunshine, though, with the heat index way up there, as well as the UV index as well. So that means you will have about 10 to 15 minutes of burn time. So make sure you have the hat, sunglasses, sunscreen, find the shade, limit your time outside. Be sure to check on the elderly and make sure that your animals outside have plenty of water. No water going to be falling from the sky today. Instead, we're going to have partly cloudy skies with a high of 100 degrees and just downright hot. 95 at lunchtime, 99 at 2 o'clock, 98 at 4. The winds today are going to be a little bit better than they were yesterday, but still about 20 to 25 miles per hour. Same thing for tomorrow. So it's going to feel like a blast furnace at times with the heat and the winds. Looking down the lane, we're going to have a building heat dome, increasing humidity, low rain chances throughout the entire forecast, maybe a little bit cooler as we head towards next week. And of course, I'll tell you how cool when we have the weather in just a little bit. Tanya.
All right, thanks, Sam. Well, 2 governors were in Pittsburgh on Wednesday. One was Kansas Governor Laura Kelly. The other was New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. The governors were in town to learn how New Mexico can improve its higher education institutions. They visited Pitt State's Center for Reading, which stands for Research, Evaluation, and Awareness of Dyslexia, to see how it helps people with the condition.
We don't always teach educators how to teach reading. So your brain isn't wired to read. Your brain is wired to acquire language, but you don't have the software embedded at birth to read. So you have to be taught to read. Some brains are a little more agile about doing that, and it's not as hard.
I think it's so critically important that we're able to help young people learn how to read, comprehend, and you can see their abilities grow through high school and how that's connected back to their ability to learn to read and to write.
Well, Governor Kelly also stopped by Pittsburgh's Block 22 to learn about the latest developments there. Well, the Lord's Diner in Pittsburgh hands out meals to people in need every day. In fact, they've been handing out so many meals that on Wednesday they handed out their 500,000th one. It went to a man named Johnny Boots. Now, officials say the fact that the meals are locally sourced adds to the excitement.
Tonight we have a beef broccoli rice casserole, so it's like a Korean take on Chinese. And we have green beans, they're super good. And fresh tomatoes, locally donated from our local farmers here in town. So that's really cool.
Well, the Lord's Diner is located at 406 North Locust Street in Pittsburgh. Well, some Frontenac youth baseball players are headed to the World Series, but to get there, they've got to raise some money, and that's just what they did on Wednesday. The Frontenac 10 and under All-Stars held a car wash to cover travel expenses. It's all for an experience the players won't forget. The team made the World Series by winning the Kansas State Championship and the Regional Championship. On Wednesday, Parsons, Kansas celebrated the 33rd anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Celebration was downtown. It included guest speakers, free food, a dunk tank, live music, and various games and activities. The act was signed into law on July 26, 1990. It protects the rights of people with disabilities.
It is our Independence Day. It is the day that our rights become law. The right to have access to the community, the rights to have employment, the rights to have access to the courthouse, vote. I mean, all those things that kind of all started with the ADA.
Well, there was also a free vaccine clinic offering COVID and flu shots. Well, the 12th annual Daghiha Language Conference wrapped up on Wednesday. The event brought members of the Ka, Omaha, Osage, Ponca, and Quapaw tribes together to celebrate their history and talk about the importance of keeping their native Daghiha language alive. The conference featured speakers from each tribe who talked about their culture and experiences.
Our language is endangered, and some of the tribes don't have any fluent speakers anymore. And so we've come together because we were one before and try to revitalize our language. And some of the tribes have different levels of language programs, and some have no language programs and no speakers.
The Preservation Society's main goal is to pass down the culture to the youth to keep their traditions alive. Well, it is fair season in Kansas. KOAM's Caitlin O'Shaughnessy joins us from the Wilson County Fair in Fredonia. Good morning, Caitlin.
Good morning, Tanya. Yes, we're live here at the Wilson County Fair in Fredonia, Kansas, and things are just kicking off for the livestock show. It's going to start this morning at 7:30 with the swine showcase. At 8:30, we then move to goats and sheep, and then at 9:30, we have the cattle. And after that, stay tuned because tonight they actually will have barrel racing as well, and then tomorrow kicks off the PRCA rodeo starting at 8.
All right, and I definitely hear some cattle in the background there. That's they were excited for you there, Caitlin, I think. So when the kids are in the livestock showcase, they're obviously shooting for a prize, or what's their goal and how do they benefit from that?
Absolutely. So, I mean, these kids have spent the last year raising these animals, feeding them, exercising them, making them the best that they can be for today's big showcase. And not only do they learn responsibilities and how to raise cattle if they ever want to have their own farm or ranch in the future, but they win cash prizes too, a lot of them helping them pay for college or other things that might help them in their future.
Okay. And we do have an interview later on this morning on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 with Cherry Nelson from the K-State Extension Service to talk to us more about the ongoings at the Wilson County Fair. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will be checking in with you in just a little bit. Thanks, Caitlin. Remember, everything starts at 7:30 in Fredonia, Kansas. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. What the latest interest rates mean for you and your personal finances. We'll have the latest.
And mostly fair skies right now across the area, but it's going to get hot later on today. I'll tell you how hot, as well as the weekend when we come back. But first, here's a live look at Fredonia, Kansas, where the 2023 Wilson County Fair has officially kicked off. We'll be right back.
And Consumer Watch this morning, as demand for electric vehicles grows, 7 of the world's largest automakers announced they are teaming up to build a system of 30,000 fast chargers across the U.S. and Canada. The group says the first of the chargers will open next summer. The charging network will have connectors for both Tesla's North American charging standard plugs as well as the combined charging system plugs used by other automakers. Samsung has revealed its latest foldable phones. The new models boast larger cover screens and a thinner design. Prices range from $999, that sounds affordable, for the Galaxy Z Flip 5 on up to just under $1,800 for the Galaxy Z Fold 5, with the company already accepting pre-orders. Unveiling of the new Samsung devices came weeks earlier than last year, with rival Apple expected to release its next iPhone this fall. Well, the Federal Reserve yesterday raised its key interest rate by 1/4 percentage point. It's the 11th increase since March of last year, bringing rates to a range between 5.25 and 5.5%, the highest it's been in 22 years. Well, here we go again. Like I just said, the Federal Reserve once again raised its interest rates. Now, Gene Sullivan has a closer look on what this means for you.
1 month after a pause, the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates once again to the highest level in more than 20 years.
We took another step by raising our policy interest rate 1/4 percentage point. We've covered a lot of ground, and the full effects of our tightening have yet to be felt.
On Wednesday, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell announcing its 11th rate hike since last spring. That's despite data showing the economy is holding up and inflation is softening. The latest consumer price index shows prices are cooling down. In June, that index rose only 3%, a much slower pace than the high of 9% the same month last year, which was a 40-year high.
Consumers are hanging tough. Part of that goes to the job market. Unemployment is very low, 3.6%. You've got to go back, 50, 60 years to see an unemployment rate consistently this low.
So, what does this mean for you? Economists say the biggest impact will be on borrowers because the Fed's benchmark lending rate impacts car loans, credit cards, and mortgages. For people looking for a home loan, this latest round of interest hikes means they'll pay more for their property. The historic series of interest rates have sidelined many would-be homebuyers, and there's no guarantee relief is coming anytime soon. Economists say more rate hikes could be ahead this year.
Inflation is still too high. The Federal Reserve is raising interest rates aggressively to slow the economy and get that inflation back down.
And that's it for Consumer Watch. And here's meteorologist Sam Lane with another look at your forecast.
All right, thank you very much, Tanya. It's a beautiful day. It will start to the day with mostly fair skies out there. Radar's all clear right now. As we go out this afternoon, the UV index is going to be way up there, very high, 10 on the scale, which means you don't have much time before you start to burn, so make sure you're taking the proper precautions. This afternoon, we're going to make it up to about 100 degrees even with a hot day, 95 at lunchtime, 99 at 2, 98 at 4 o'clock. This afternoon, the winds are going to be a little bit lighter today than they were yesterday, but still they're going to be around 20 miles per hour and about the same thing tomorrow. So it's going to feel very warm and very hot out there this afternoon. Looking down the lane, we have the building heat dome as we go into the weekend, along with increasing humidity, low rain chances, maybe a little bit cooler next week. And of course, I'll tell you more about that when we come back with more news and weather in just a little bit. We did it, we made it past the hump, and that sounds like a great reason to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. They're just around the corner. But before we get there, let's head out to New York City and see what's happening on the CBS Morning Show.
I'm John Dickerson. Coming up on CBS Mornings, Jaws scared everyone out of the water nearly 40 years ago, and Anthony Mason finds out why the tense story behind the blockbuster has now been turned into a Broadway show. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
All right, it's time to kick off our birthdays on this 27th day of July. Ryler O'Brien turning 2 years old in Liberty, Missouri. And up in Humboldt, Kansas, also turning 2, we've got the Zimmerman twins, Presley and Cash. How cute are they in those overalls? Loving it. And we'll head south to Riverton for Katiana Bond, who's now 5 years old. I love that name, Katiana. Yeah. Chase Fosdick is 6 this year. Looks like he's had some fun in the water this summer. Chase is in Jasper, Missouri. Ryan Dooley, happy birthday to you, and happy birthday number 37 in Columbus, Kansas. And we'll head over to Chanute, Kansas for a 39th birthday celebration for Mr. Randy Schreiber. Gideon Buchanan celebrating birthday number 45 this year. Gideon is in Jasper. And Sean Wheeler turning 53 years old this year. Sean is in Fort Scott. And not too far from Fort Scott, over in Moraine, Kansas, Donna Bond. Happy birthday to you. Hope you have a great day. And we've got birthday wishes coming from Alan and Tina Grimmett out to Susan Voorhees. And Susan is in Fredonia, Kansas. She's going to have to give a shout out to Caitlin out there as well. All right. Wilson County Fair is underway in Fredonia this week. Kyle and Heather Tedlock celebrating their 4th anniversary this year. They are in Arma, Kansas. Congratulations to the Tedlocks. Now our list goes on. In Frontenac, Mr. Haggerty, Michael Q. Haggerty, happy birthday. Carney Morgan turning 73 this year. Carney is in Crestline, our neighbor there. And Chris and CJ Meach are celebrating their 4th anniversary. The Meaches are up in Fort Scott. Billy Marie Wybert, excuse me. Billy is celebrating birthday number 90 this year. Wow, that's a milestone. In Webb City. It's a good list of birthdays for us on this Thursday. That's what day it is. Yeah. If you've got a birthday or an anniversary, all you have to do is send them to this email, birthdays@koamnewsnow.com. Make sure you include those pictures too. We love to share the pictures. And you can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. All you have to do is go to, once you do, you get special deals from local businesses. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Celebrate your birthday, a little bit on the hot side, but of course that's typical for late July. Beautiful morning shaping up at Seneca, Missouri to Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Heat advisory is in effect for southwest Missouri, southeastern Kansas. This is going to be expanded to include all of our area except for Benton County later on today. Temperatures are already warming up into the mid-70s. Getting close to 80 degrees in some places like Nowata with 77. Same thing in Fort Scott, 78 in Nevada and in Stockton. When you factor in the dew point later on today, it's going to feel like 105 in Nevada as well as Stockton, 106 in Oswego, 108 scorching degrees in Welch, same thing in Veneta. And then tomorrow we're going to be looking at more of the same. Temperatures feeling like well over 100 across the entire area, with the exception of Aurora at about 97 degrees. Here's the heat advisory that's going to be in effect for later on today. It encompasses everyone in our area except for Benton County in Arkansas. Rain chances are going to be low to basically near zero. Any rain that falls will be on the light side. And over the next 7 days, if you like hot weather, take a look at this. 100 degrees all the way until next Wednesday, and then we get a little bit cooler as we head towards next weekend. Of course, we're going to have more news and weather when we come back in just a little bit.
Coming up, when the KOAM Morning News switches over to Fox 14, we're taking you to a conference focused on the preservation of Native language and culture. Every year, the Dahigaha Language Conference convenes to unite Osage, Omaha, Quapaw, Ka, and Ponca tribes with the goal of keeping their words and deeds alive for future generations. KOAM's very own Jasmine Knight takes us inside this annual event, and the KOAM Morning News transitions over to Fox 14 at 7. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Joplin takes a step closer to restructuring its public transportation system thanks to a grant for $400,000 from the Federal Transit Administration. City officials plan to use the money to restructure the public transportation system and possibly expand it. Progress continues on the 32nd Street widening project in Joplin. Starting Monday, a portion of West 32nd Street will be closed, specifically from Iron Gates and Arbor Road to the west side of the Westbury neighborhood entrance. The city expects the project to be completed by late fall. Two governors made the trip to Pittsburgh on Wednesday. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly and New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham toured the town to learn how New Mexico can improve its higher education institutions. And organizers expect Marian Days to draw pre-pandemic attendance numbers. They say the event that kicks off in Carthage next week could bring in 70,000 people. Visitors came from all over the country and traditionally choose to camp outside. Organizers have already set up about 100 tents to accommodate them. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
If you're going to be camping outside, it's going to be hot, that's for sure. With temperatures over 100 degrees, an alert day today and tomorrow. The heat continues all through the weekend, and then maybe next week, a slight chance of showers and slightly cooler temperatures.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. We earlier showcased that the YMCA in Carthage is adding extra staff so people can go there to take showers and cool off in the pool.
Absolutely. Pools are definitely a good place to cool off this week.
All right. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making steakhouse salad in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
That sounds delicious. Your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. Witnesses testifying before Congress made stunning claims about the military hiding evidence of alien spacecraft from the American people. Coming up on CBS Mornings, why lawmakers say UFOs are a threat to national security.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, Captain William Davis from the Joplin Police Department, he's stopping by the studio to get us up to speed on traffic safety for the upcoming school year.
Plus, we're headed back out to Fredonia, Kansas, where our very own Caitlin O'Shaughnessy has been enjoying the morning at the Wilson County Fair.
All right, and we're going to be learning about pigs.
That's right.
All right, that'll wrap us up for now. Let's see you back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. And we're going to do it again today at noon with our Great American Flag Swap in EO Show.